What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm giving you guys a really big update. I haven't posted in over a week at this point. And if you guys can tell, I'm somewhere new. I'm definitely not in my house, and that is because we are in the hospital. So I'm just gonna tell you guys what happened. By the title of this video, probably what I title it, so you guys know exactly what's going on. You guys can tell probably what I'm going to tell you. So Lilia has, or had, should I say, because she's currently being treated for it. She is okay. She is getting better. She is starting to be her normal self again. All of her stats are normal. Her blood work's coming back normal. But I just want to tell the story. If you guys aren't following me on Instagram, or even if you are following me on Instagram, I might give a little bit more detail here. So she has bacterial meningitis, and I will kind of go over the whole story like I just said. But yeah, that is her diagnosis, and we have a couple of different things that I will talk about too that we have found out about her while being in the hospital, and we're very, very lucky she's still here with us. So yeah, the story of how it happened. Thursday morning, so the 29th, I woke up with her and I nursed her. I changed her diaper. I put her on my chest, you know, like she has reflux, so I keep her up at least 30 minutes after every feed. Sometimes it gets cut short, but most of the time I'm very diligent about being 30 minutes. And once that time went over, she was asleep, and I was feeling like I wanted to get out of bed, and I wanted to, you know, make breakfast and pick up the house a little bit. So I got up and I put her in her swing, and about 30 minutes later she started whining. So I went over to her in her swing and I tried to give her binky, and she just wasn't having it. She wasn't coming down. So I picked her up and I took her to her room to change her diaper, because I kind of go through like a process. If you are a mom, you have a baby and it's crying, you kind of go through a process of trying to find out why they're crying. So I took off her sleeper to change her diaper, and from her waist down was purple. So I instantly went into a panic and I called Mauricio like instantly, and he rushed home, and we called the pediatrician and they wanted us to come in. Luckily they wanted us to come in, and so we went in at 10 a.m. and they told us the legs was mostly probably just a circulation thing, that and it has nothing to do with what is all going on. They thought that she may have just been positioned wrong, or her diaper was put on like wrong or a little too tight, or whatever the case may be. She just had poor circulation in her legs, and it has nothing to do with her having this extremely rare form of bacteria in her body that is formed into bacterial meningitis. So we got sent to the hospital because her heart rate was over 220. It was beating extremely fast, and my doctor was, or the pediatrician was like, I think she might be having SVT, which, if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like a step down from cardiac arrest. It's like when your heart beats so fast it overworks itself trying to compensate for something, and you eventually will go into cardiac arrest. So we rushed as safely as we could to the hospital we're at now, where they have a pediatric ER. And we immediately, when we walked in, they were ready to start all the tests. They did a full workup on her. I mean, blood work, urine cultures, blood cultures. They attempted to do a spinal tap. They were unable to get the spinal tap fluid. They did an echo. They did, man, it's like blurring all together, all the tests they did when we first got here, but they did a full workup on her. They said she was not in SVT, and they could not figure out why she was so sick, because she had no fever. At any point during this entire process has she had a fever indicating any type of infection going through her body. So yeah, she didn't even have a fever at home. Literally nothing was wrong with her physically that I noticed, except for her legs being purple. Nothing pointed me in a direction that she was sick. So we were admitted to the hospital. They had no idea what was going on. They kind of just admitted us, and they started treating her as if she did have an infection. They didn't know at that point if she did, but they said it won't hurt if we do. So they started treating her for basically any and every type of infection she could have had. Probably the most common ones, I would assume. And finally, once we were admitted around 1 a.m., so the 30th, like really early in the morning on the 30th, she started to decline rapidly. I mean, her oxygen level was plummeting, her heart rate was starting to race again, and she just looked so bad. She swelled up really bad because they just pumped her full of fluids down in the ER, and she was just very tired and her body was giving up. It was just getting tired, so she needed a lot of help. She got put on high flow oxygen, and she had an NG tube. She was not allowed to eat because her respiratory rate was way too high. She was compensating a lot by breathing really heavily and breathing very, very often. I mean, she was breathing about 90 to 100 breaths per minute, which is so fast. So she was really sick, and in the morning, like at 3 a.m., I want to say it was like a little bit later, her doctor comes in and says she tested her blood and urine cultures were starting to grow a bacteria. So they immediately started treating her for that, and she was stable after they put her on oxygen, and they kind of helped her be more comfortable. And then after they told us that her cultures were positive, or they were growing something, they told us she was growing a gram-negative culture, I believe. So they started putting her on a different antibiotic to treat more of that targeted one. So she was more on a wide variety antibiotic, and then they put her on a more specific one at that point. And she was on that one until, I guess, the next day. Sorry about the lighting. You guys see the windows behind me and not in front of me where it should be for good lighting. And where was I at in my story? It like all blurs together. So she started to become stable, and we kind of just were waiting for what kind of bacteria to grow. So the next day they attempted to do the spinal tap again, and they were able to get fluid. So they tested her spinal fluid for bacteria, and her white blood cell count came up high in her spinal fluid, but she never grew a bacteria in her spinal fluid culture. They believe it didn't grow because the antibiotics they had her on since Thursday morning were already starting to kill off the bacteria, or we just got extremely lucky and the bacteria had not reached that area, or it had just started to reach that area, and her white blood cell counts were able to, or her white blood cells were able to like combat it for as long as, you know, for a short period of time, and we caught it right in time to put her on the antibiotics to help. So that is why she got the diagnosis of bacterial meningitis, because they could not rule out meningitis because everything was indicating that she did have meningitis. So they could not rule that out. So at that point, they started treating her for even more stuff. Like they put her on a stronger antibiotics. And then I want to say either that day or the next day, we learned out what kind of bacteria was in her blood. And it is called Pontoa, I don't know how you pronounce it. I will put it right here. It is extremely rare to find in humans. It stumped every single doctor that we have seen. None of these doctors really knew. Even infectious disease, who studies these bacteria, really had no idea how she could have gotten this bacteria. We have an idea, and we're looking into exploring that idea a little bit more, but unfortunately the hospital is not able to help us. The infectious disease doctor is helping us, you know, by reaching out to some colleagues and stuff, but the hospital itself is not able to help. So we are looking for outside resources to pursue that, to see if that is where it came from, because there was only one change in her life from week 4 to week 5. So she was almost 5 weeks old. So there was some factor that we put into at 4 weeks old that we think is the cause. This bacteria likes vegetation, soil, garbage, feces. It likes that kind of stuff. And so we were worried that maybe it was on Mauricio's plants and that's how she got it. But the doctors really think that she had to have ingested it, because this bacteria does not like humans. It thrives in plants and vegetation and soil, and if it's there and it's thriving there, it's not very likely that it's going to cling to a human and go look for an outside source, because it was thriving there. We don't know exactly how she got it, and I am very terrified to take her back home, because I don't know if it's something in our house. But I do know that once we find out exactly when she's coming home, I will probably be doing deep cleaning of our house myself, and I probably will even hire an outside cleaning crew to clean up after me. Like, I'm gonna be like, yo, clean it with like bleach everywhere. I've already cleaned it with bleach, but I need someone else to clean it with bleach to like whatever or wherever it came from. I want to make sure it's not in our home. And she can't get this again, you know. That's my biggest fear, is that she'll get it again and we'll be back here, or her body just won't be able to fight it off. So with that, it is extremely rare for her to get it again, but it's terrifying to think that she could get it again. After that, we found out that she has a abnormality in her kidneys. I don't know if you guys remember, or if you were around for when I had my anatomy scan done when I was pregnant with her. They found excess fluid in her kidneys, so I had a repeat ultrasound done, and they cleared us of her having excess fluid in her kidneys. Well, come to find out, she has an abnormality in her kidneys, which is causing her to have something called hydronephrosis, which means excess fluid in the kidneys, which causes them to be enlarged. And the reasons why she has this is she has reflux of the bladder. So the bladder is down here, and then you have like the two kidneys, and you have the tubes leading down to the bladder. The reflux means that the urine is coming back from the bladder to the kidneys, or attempting to, and that's reflux. So she has that. So there's probably something wrong with the little flap that is, so if you have the bladder and then you have the tubes, there's like a little flap of something that could also be malfunctioning from the reflux. And then she also has on her left kidney a dual collective system. So she has, so you know, you have two, she has two on one side and one on the other side. So she has three tubes leading down to her bladder. So there's different stages of this. They can either have, or it's 1 through 5 is the seriousness or the stage of it. If it's under 3, they basically just treat her with antibiotics constantly, because she's prone to UTIs. And if it's above a 3, they will probably have to go in surgically and fix whatever is wrong with her whole urinary tract system. You know, the hydronephrosis, the dual collective system, the reflux, they will have to fix all of that. Was it missed on our ultrasound? I do believe so. Was it seen on the ultrasound? I do believe so, and I believe it was misread. But leading into that, the bacteria that she had in her body was if it was in the human body, it would have just stayed in the digestive tract, and the doctor thinks it was trying to find its way out, but then it got into the urinary tract system, and it saw the abnormality, it saw the hydronephrosis, it saw the reflux, which causes a lot of swelling and inflammation, and she probably already had the start of a UTI, so it's the start of some type of infection in her urinary tract, and so it clung to that, and it thrived in that area, because at that point it was looking for something that it could thrive on, you know. And so that is how they believe this bacteria was entered her body through the digestive tract, was fine, made its way through it, and then once it saw that infection, it clung to it, and that's how it multiplied. So it went from her urine to her blood, and then possibly into her spinal fluid. We just don't have a way to prove that it was. We just have proof that her white blood cell count was elevated in her spinal fluid. So after all of that, she started to get a lot better. She is on one of the strongest antibiotics on the market. She is doing so much better. She's finally back to being her baby. She's her fussy self. She also has a PICC line or a central line, however you want to, in her back, which makes it easier for her to get her antibiotics and for them to draw blood. I mean, this poor baby has been through the ringer. She's a hard stick. she has like multiple sticks on her hands and her feet and her head. She had a unicorn IV right here. She just had like she had so much going on with her, and now the PICC line, it's on her back, so she lays on it, so I think it's sore. That's why she's been a little bit extra fussy last night, and then this morning she's been fussy, so we've kind of just been like holding her and like taking the pressure off and then giving her Tylenol. Well, the hospital's been giving her Tylenol. So she had an MRI done of her brain, and there was no seen damage of her brain. So that's the biggest thing with meningitis, and especially bacterial meningitis, is it can cause severe brain damage. And luckily we have not seen anything. She's still moving her eyes, she's following, tracking, her eyes are dilating, she is acting her normal self, all of her limbs work, she's still, you know, being her normal self. The only thing that they are a little worried about, even though they didn't see anything on her MRI that would indicate this, they are worried about her hearing. So we will be having another hearing test done towards the end of her treatment. So she has to be on antibiotics for 21 days from the 3rd negative blood culture. So she hit that a couple days ago, so I think we're on day 2 or 3, so we still have about 2.5 plus more weeks. And you can also add on, if she needs surgery to correct this abnormality in her urinary tract, we could be here even longer. So that is basically what's going on and why I haven't been posting. The best place, and I say this not because I want you to follow me there, or I just genuinely say, if you want more consistent updates, Instagram is the place to be to follow me. Just because that is where it's so easy to just take a picture or to record a video and just post it immediately than to sit down, film, and edit a video like this one. So yeah, we will be here for 21 days. I have a couple videos that I have to put out, so you guys will see those. And I will start to kind of, I think I want to vlog this experience a little bit more now that she's healthy and we know she's getting better. But I don't have any of what happened on footage. I don't, and if I did, I would probably delete it because it's traumatizing. I do think personally for myself, maybe even Mauricio, we will have to have some sort of, oh my god, the lighting is terrible, some sort of therapy. I feel like I'm going to develop OCD from this, just like not knowing where she got this bacteria from, and there's almost no research on the bacteria, so I feel like this is going to change her life forever. Yeah, but she is getting better and she's healthy right now. I mean, I wouldn't say she's healthy, but she's getting better, and all of her blood work and all of her stuff is coming back normal, and clinically she is healthy. But 21 days is to make sure that there's no bacteria in her blood, in her urine, or her spinal fluid, and the meningitis is completely gone. But yeah, like I said, we don't know exactly if she has any possible learning disabilities or, you know, developmental delays. We don't know of any of what could have came from having meningitis. I don't know I can't think of the right word, but we'll just have to wait and see. But we love her and we're so glad she's here still, because, you know, I just can't imagine it. I tell myself and I tell everyone around me, it was our guardian angels that turned her legs purple, because her purple legs are said to have had nothing to do with this. And I truly believe that that was our guardian angels, like, hey, something's not right. Because like I said, no fever, no extra fussiness, she was eating fine, she had fine diapers, she literally was fine. She was her normal self there, with purple legs. And if it wasn't for poor circulation or her being misplaced, or like, you know, not positioned the best, or her diaper being too tight, she probably wouldn't be here today, because she had no signs or symptoms of it. So yeah, that's the update, and I would really appreciate like thoughts and prayers for her, so she continues to heal and continues to get better. And yeah, so I will see you guys in our next video. Bye guys.
It doesn't even make sense why I think about you.